Back to follow-up segment tonight. Some conservative Americans are worried about the activist group Acorn, fearing it will get tax dollars to promote a far-left agenda. And that concern is valid. In Nassau County, Long Island, where I live, members of Acorn routinely demonstrate for free housing and other entitlements, believing the government owes the poor a lifestyle. Also, Acorn personnel have been involved in voter fraud cases from coast to coast. Joining us now from Pittsburgh is Heather Heidelbaugh, who has been investigating Acorn for the Pennsylvania Republican Party. Okay, you testified in front of the House Judiciary Committee, chaired by John Conyers, a very, very liberal congressman. You told them 4 bullet points that I have here. Let's start with muscle for money. You said that Acorn was paid by the Service Employees International Union to rough people up. Is that true?
What I testified to was that the Service Employees International Union paid Acorn and/or its affiliate Project Vote to protest David Rubenstein, the president of the Carlyle Group, at a banquet that he was having in order to encourage what they call corporate donations. Inside Acorn, they call it protection. So when they protested the guy from the Carlyle Group, what did Acorn do? Were they violent? They went in uninvited to a banquet, protested, as I understand it, protested the place of business, perhaps protested his home. There's a pattern.
They disrupted the man's speech and they went to his home. How do you know the SEIU, a far-left union, paid them? How do you know?
I have the testimony of the whistleblower, Anita Moncrief, who testified under oath in an injunction proceeding I brought in October.
All right. So you have a witness who testified under oath that this took place. Voter registration fraud. How many whistleblowers, by the way, did you rely upon to assemble the information for the congressional hearing?
What I relied upon in terms of my lawsuit, which then I translated into the testimony at Congress, was not only documents that I obtained throughout the country, certified criminal records from Kansas City, St. Louis, the state of Washington. I also relied on published press reports. I relied on statements from Acorn in the press, and I relied on statements from various election officials throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
And the conclusion that you drew from all of this material was how much voter fraud is perpetrated by Acorn.
Yes, sir. There is no question at all. There was 12 proceedings by different criminal investigative units throughout the United States, 4 alone in Pennsylvania, and 1,200 voter registration forms were sent by Philadelphia to the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania that were submitted by Acorn that were fraudulent.
Okay, so 12 separate cases you've been able to document of alleged voter fraud by Acorn.
12 separate investigations by criminal authorities in 12 different states in this last election cycle in regard to voter registration fraud by Acorn.
Do we know how many convictions?
We have convictions in Kansas City, and I introduced those. Those were certified copies I introduced in my hearing. Convictions in St. Louis. There were convictions in many other states, and there is a settlement agreement that was entered into by a county in Washington State with Acorn National. See, Acorn's excuse for this is always that it's errant employees, and that has nothing to do with the corporation. That's false. That is a false statement. National Acorn President Maud Hurd signed a consent agreement with a county in Washington State, King County, stating that they agreed to pay $25,000 to right their ship, do things the right way, if King County agreed not to prosecute them, and that was in July of 2007. And what we saw in the 2008 election cycle was they completely ignored that consent agreement with King County.
All right. Now, the final thing here, well, actually 2 more, but the one, we're going to hold one over for tomorrow because we're investigating that, is that you say Acorn was in contact with the Obama presidential campaign. To what extent?
The whistleblower testified under oath and subject to the penalties of perjury that she actually received a call when she was at D.C. Acorn, D.C. Project Vote, from the Obama campaign, a gentleman introducing himself as the Obama campaign. She later received from her boss, Karen Gillette, who was also the campaign manager for Jennifer Brunner, who's Secretary of State of Ohio, the Obama maxed out donor presidential Excel spreadsheet. And she was told this was from the Obama campaign, and that what she was to do was to reach out to these maxed out presidential donors and ask them to donate to Acorn for Get Out the Vote efforts.
Okay. Now, You also reported to John Conyers, who, by the way, after hearing Ms. Heidelbaugh, calls for a full congressional hearing. So Conyers taking it seriously, that the New York Times spiked a story, killed a story, okay, about the acorn corruption. Now, we're investigating that. We will have it for you tomorrow night. It's a pretty hot thing, but we got to check it out, to be fair to the New York Times, and make sure that we have all the facts in place. So I'm not going to let Ms. Heidelbaugh do that now. We will have it for you tomorrow night. We appreciate you coming on, madam. Keep us posted. When we come right back, it'll be Miller time.